Elsie Jensen here. Tonight we are going to bake up our 2 sourdough loaves, a traditional loaf, and a cranberry cherry lemon loaf. And then we are going to make some homemade pizzas using some sourdough discard pizza dough, and we'll make some dessert pizzas. So let's start by getting our sourdoughs in the oven. So we're going to do our loaf one first. Just flip it out onto my parchment paper here. This is the dough we made up last night. And then we're going to give it a nice expansion score all the way down. And then we can do just a pretty little leaf design today. Okay. Let me grab my oven mitt here because this is very hot. I had my Dutch ovens in the oven for 500 for the last hour, heating up. So it is a nice hot Dutch oven. Put that in there. We're going to put our lid back on. Try to trap in the natural moisture. And then this is our cranberry cherry lemon loaf. Okay. And we're going to do a nice score on this one as well. We'll do our big one, kind of our cross. I always feel like this one turns out so nice. And just go in that one a little bit more. There was a cherry, I bet, got it through. Let's take off our lid. And again, these are very, very hot. We're going to put our cherry cranberry lemon loaf in there. Put our lids on, and then we're going to pop these in the oven at 500 degrees for 20 minutes. Then we're going to take the lid off and cook them at 450 for another 20 minutes. Okay. We got our first loaf in. And let's grab our second loaf. And I always find it's easy. I always make 2 loaves at a time because then you're only using your oven one time. Because when you have your oven heating up at 500 degrees for a while, it can heat up your house. I'm going to put it for 20 minutes. That's when we'll take the lid off and then reduce the temperature down. Okay, let's get going on our pizzas. I'm gonna get a couple. We have our pizza oven here preheating, and so I'm gonna cut a couple parchment papers into circles because I find it is easier to transfer my pizzas onto my pizza stone in there when they are cut in a circle, and I can just move the whole thing. So let's start out with 4. And then I'm just going to fold them into a triangle first. And then I'm going to cut a nice circle, and hopefully it's the right size. And this just makes it much easier to transfer my pizzas onto the pizza stone. So I'm just going to lift up my stone real quick, double check. You can see it's nice and hot, good size.
I have a question. Do you make everyone in the family their own pizza?
I make not everyone in the family because there's a lot of us. That would be like making 8 to 10 different pizzas every time we do it, depending on how many people here. So I make several like batches of pizza. So everyone gets what they like, but they'll probably share cheese and then whatnot. Growing up, I was the youngest of 10, and we had pizza night too. And we all made our own pizzas, but it was a little bit different when we'd bake ours in the oven versus in a pizza stone. So my pizza stone can only accommodate 1 pizza at a time. Now, when we do deep dish pizzas, everyone gets to decorate their own. Okay, I'm going to divide this into 6 pieces because we're going to make 2 dessert pizzas. and then probably a cheese bread type pizza. We're going to start out with a cheese pizza going, and then we're going to start cooking up some vegetables.
What's
for
everybody's favorite?
For my husband, he loved let's see. Everyone has different. So my husband and my oldest daughter loves pepperoni pizza. I will say Evie and Torrin and Teddy and Jack all like cheese pizza, although Jack pretty much eats anything. I like sausage pizza with a bunch of with mushrooms and onions and peppers and whatnot on it. Oh, I do love barbecue chicken pizza, which is one of my favorites, but not everybody likes it here. So we're just gonna make it. I kind of rolled it out a little. This is a mix between a sourdough pizza crust and a yeast. So it does have some yeast in it, but not very much, but it just helps activate it a little bit more. So we've got our pizza dough right out here. I always like to make a little ridge for the crust. There we go. And I will say you want to make your pizza crust fairly thin because it will poof up, and if you leave it thick, then it doesn't cook as evenly, and you get like the ratio of pizza toppings to bread is off.
Do you have a question? Pineapple on pizza? Yes
or no? You know what? The honest truth is, I've never eaten pineapple on pizza. And I just never had it, and I don't know if I would. I'm not a fruit in my savory food type of person, but I can't knock it because I've never tried it. So it could be delicious, but I have honestly never tried it before. I could put some on it, but I'm not going to because the idea of it makes things. But you know, one thing I like on pizza, which is I had it when I was living in Germany with my foreign exchange family. They put corn on their pizza, and I think it's absolutely delicious. My husband disagrees with me, but corn I thought was pretty yummy. Okay, we've got our pizza sauce on. I don't put a huge amount of pizza sauce on because I don't like it to be soupy, but I do always give my kids an extra dish, a bowl of marinara sauce so they can dip their pizza in it. And then, of course, we got to give a nice, healthy serving of mozzarella on it. Okay. And you, of course, need a good amount. Voila, we got our first one. This is the easiest one, cheese. I will say cheese and pepperoni are the easiest. Okay, we've got ours. Pizza oven nice and hot. Now this oven keeps it up to like 500 degrees. So it's nice and hot, but this is why the parchment paper is great because it makes it easier for transferring on, because I'm not very good with the little shovel thing. It's a disaster whenever I try to do it. My parents have a real outdoor pizza oven, and it's pretty comical. I have to make, when we do it, I have to make really little pizzas because I can only do the little shovel with a really little pizza. If I try it any bigger, and I think maybe it's because we overload it with the toppings, or I don't know what it is. It just always falls apart.
What sides? Any salads? And what's the fruit?
So we are going to have really our pizza's our main thing. We're gonna have our fruit. I have pineapple and honeydew melon that we cut up earlier at lunch today. We're gonna finish that off. And the sides, I think we're just doing pizza. It's Friday. I thought about making a salad, but at the same time, I'm like, it's Friday. And it's Friday before Easter, and we're doing I'm finally getting my menus put together for the weekend. So tomorrow we're going to do like an American Easter, like the traditional, like a ham, and do some, I guess maybe a Southern one, sweet potatoes on there. And then on Sunday, we're doing lamb lollies. I got my rabbit. It's coming tomorrow night. It's being shipped overnight. So we're going to do a rabbit. And And then we're going to do a green bean casserole, homemade green bean casserole, nothing out of the can. So it's all fresh green beans, fresh mushrooms. I make my own cream sauce and I fry up my own onions. So it's like, it is delicious. So it's not anything like what you think of when you think of green bean casserole. I've converted everyone in my family to it. So not my immediate family, my extended family, all of my siblings who thought it was the grossest thing ever. They love mine. So much so that my niece actually asked me for the recipe. So that's a big ask from one of my nieces. I'm just gonna chop up my vegetables because I do love a loaded veggie pizza. That's one of my favorites. Just lots of things, but my vegetables have to be sautéed. I find fresh vegetables on a pizza they keep their kind of bitter flavors. And so I like to give all of them a nice saute, and that way they have the most flavor and are delicious. So I'm just going to be doing some sweet peppers, mushrooms, and onions. And because those are my favorite to go on a pizza. And my husband and my daughter, they'll have just a good old pepperoni pizza, but lots of pepperonis. And then I'm going to make a cheese bread type pizza with some butter and garlic and then mozzarella. Everyone loves that. That's like a favorite too. And then we're going to do dessert pizzas. We're going to do a cinnamon sugar pizza and then a Nutella pizza, which are super easy to make. You use the same dough for everything. You just top it a little bit differently. Slice up our mushrooms. I'm using some baby Bellas here. There we go. Get these sliced. Now I'm going to go grab my onion salt, my garlic salt, because you can't make it without garlic salt. Everyone knows I love garlic salt.
You have a question? What's your parents' favorite pizza?
So my mom is what mine is with and sausage on it. So we love sausage. So we typically make the same pizzas together. Although over Thanksgiving, my brother-in-law was making pizzas. I was the one baking them outside in the pizza oven, but he was putting together, and he had this one, and I want to believe it was some cheese, maybe manchego or some really fancy cheese with fig jelly and caramelized onions. It was so good. That was a delicious artisan pizza. But for just like good old pizza, mushrooms and peppers and onions and sausage. Okay, and then of course, mozzarella cheese. Now my stepdad, his is anything with lots of meat on it. He doesn't consider it a pizza unless it's like your meat lover supreme, where it's overloaded with everything. So we got our onions caramelizing, and I'm just kind of caramelize them all up. Let's check on our pizza here. See how it's going. It's getting there. You see how it's getting a little bit of brown bubbling? I want it to bubble all the way through there in the middle. So about a few more minutes. And while we're doing that, I'm going to start prepping our next pizza. We're going to do a pepperoni one. There we go. So this dough, I was still deciding about 2 hours ago, what should we do for dinner tonight? And I was like, oh, let's do pizza. So this is a hybrid dough. So a lot of times I do a full-on sourdough pizza crust, but that needs several hours. Like I'll make it in the morning and then that dough is ready. This one was, again, our hybrid, where we used a little bit of yeast to help with it so that it wouldn't be a super dense one. There we go. I stretch it out. I will say, though, I find my kids eat my homemade pizza, I think, is a lot more filling than when you buy from, say, a Papa John's or a Pizza Hut or whatnot. Everyone says that, my husband, he could eat almost a whole medium-sized pizza from Papa John's, but the homemade pizza, because I think the crust and all the ingredients you get so much more of, he's I guess a small sized pizza because it is more filling. There we go. Make our nice little crust around it. There we go. Just pinch it up. You don't have to do much other than really pinching it around. There we go. We got a nice little sizzle on it. So we're going to get our onions. Got my onions right here. Then we're going to throw in our peppers. Get them just a nice little sizzle on it.
You have a question? Have you started your chocolate sourdough yet?
Not yet. I've been been a little busy figuring out Easter for the kids, but I need to order another jar because I really like the getting the jars versus finding a mason jar. I used to do them in just a mason jar that I had laying around, but I really love the like perfect fit covers and then the sides. So I got to just order myself another jar. But I'm like really terrible about doing stuff like that. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get that, and then like 3 weeks later, and I'm like, oh yeah, I meant to buy that, and I didn't. And it's because I think of something, and then if I don't sit down and do it right away, it's gone. It's like ever since I got like I've had an Apple Watch now forever, but people will text me and then I read it on my watch, but I don't respond on my watch. But then I end up never responding to it. And I'm like, oh yeah, you did text me that. And I didn't respond. Kind of, I was like, I said, I'm like, need to get better about it. Let's see.
Yeah.
Good.
You have a question? Have you ever done stuffed crust?
I have done stuffed crust pizza before. It's a little bit more tricky because you've got to really like pinch the crust together so it doesn't fall out. And I prefer to do kind of a little bit a deep dish where I do like a layer or whatnot. Look at that. Perfect. Nice, beautiful. We're going to let our stone heat up, but that's our first one. Nice. You got the lovely bubble on the cheese. Now, you could always do your pizza in the oven if you don't have a pizza oven. Those fine. You just want to make sure your oven is really hot when you do it. And if you have like either the convection bake setting or the air fryer setting, that is like the trick to do, because you want to do it high, quick and high heat fast. Back, I feel like in the early 2000s, maybe late 90s, pizza stones were all the rage. Everybody got a pizza stone. Those work really well, but the only problem with pizza stones is you've got to preheat them. And so if you don't remember to preheat your pizza stone, then it doesn't like work as well. Where is my olive oil? We're going to do our mushrooms now. Get there. Mushrooms are my favorite part on a pizza. I just love mushrooms. I will say my 13-year-old son, he loves mushrooms too, and he likes them on his pizza. He does like a cheese and mushroom pizza too. Give him a little toss. Okay, for my pepperoni, I do 2 layers of pepperoni. So you can't ever say you got skimped out on your pepperoni. We do our thick layer, then we do cheese, and then we do another layer of pepperoni. So you always get one in every bite. Sometimes I'll do them with 2 different types of pepperoni. Like you can get the pepperoni, like the sandwich cut pepperoni, like from the deli. And then you got the good old like Hormel pepperoni. But as long as you get it on there, lots of layers.
Give a request and a question. When I ask a question, if you could paraphrase it, a lot of people can't hear
Okay.
me. And the question is, do you have a good recipe for stuffed mushrooms?
Okay, so the question is, do you have a good recipe for stuffed mushrooms? I have a couple of recipes for stuffed mushrooms to make. So and they're both sizes. So you can either do the stuffed mushrooms where you have them really big on the big portobellos, or the little mini mushrooms for like the appetizers. And I've done them both ways. I have ones where they're appetizers with the little baby mushrooms, and I do either a spinach cheese filling with one, and then a sausage filling with the other one. And they are delicious. I'll have to put that in my rotation. I haven't made those in a while. And then the same thing with my big ones. I almost do, it's like a sausage and veggie filling in the big portobello mushrooms, with then topped with cheese. And they're delicious. I used to actually, so we used to have it that every Thanksgiving somebody did appetizers while like the other sibling like cooked dinner. So they would be in charge of, drinks and appetizers and whatnot. And that's what always would, everyone would say, make your stuffed mushrooms. And making stuffed mushrooms for like 40 people is a lot of mushrooms. Let's get our pepperoni on. And we're going to let it start to cook. Let's get there. So yes, I'll have to put that in my rotation of things to cook. Because they're not as hard as people think. Because you just make your big base and then you just pull them out and you stuff them. So they go pretty fast, but they are delicious. Okay, let those saute. Let's get another one out. And this one we'll make our cheesy bread. So stretch out our dough. I like to stretch it first and then do a little roll to kind of get it kind of even.
What brand is the pizza stone?
It is a Breville pizza oven. So the brand of the pizza oven is a Breville. I've had this one forever, and I'm not going to say I've had it forever. I stole it from my parents' house. They live like 3 miles away, and since I cook them all their meals, I said that it could be relocated to my house, and if they ever needed it, they could pick it back up. That's what families are for. They won't because they don't cook. But it has been, I will say, I've had it. I want to say we got it maybe when I was in high school. So that I graduated high school in 2006. So it's like 20 years old, but it's still kicking, and it still works great. Ain't much about it, but it just heats it really high. I know like Una makes a nice pizza oven. There's a couple out there in different price ranges. But this one has worked well for us. I will say the only downside, and I think it's a downside because we are such a large family, is that it only cooks one pizza at a time. And when you're feeding lots of mouths, that's a little bit harder.
I like your mom.
Yes, my mom has an Alpha, and it's an outdoor pizza oven, and she has it like hooked up to gas. And that one it's big. So she got like the big one because of course, she has a lot of kids that come and visit, and it's crazy there. But I use that a lot in the summer because my parents have one of those Michael Phelps TheraSpas. So the like 20-foot hot tub / it's like a pool, like an infinity pool with a hot tub too. So we're always there like swimming and playing around, and then I cook up there because she put in a giant outdoor kitchen mainly for me to cook because she doesn't cook. But I hear our sourdough beeping, so let's take the lid off. We're going to check the progress there, and then we'll have 20 minutes at 450. It's nice and steamy hot. Get my oven mitts on. So this one is our specialty loaf. Nice, beautiful pop. This was the cranberry, cherry, and lemon. And this is our traditional loaf. And look at that beautiful little pop there from our expansion score. I'm going to put it in here. Then we are going to turn the temperature down to 450. So, and I do this because I don't like my sourdough bread to get super dark. So I like it mild in the middle, and then I'm going to set it for 20 minutes. And that typically has turned out perfect for me every single time. I find if you overcook it, it gets too crunchy and too hard. And then while it's like good the first night, it doesn't cut up well the next day. Okay. Give a little garlic salt on my mushrooms. Let's check our pepperoni. Let's see how it's doing. Very nice. Getting there. We're going to do some garlic salt. So I've spread some butter on here. We're going to do a little bit of garlic salt. And then we're going to do just a layer of cheese. This is going to be our cheesy bread. Everyone loves this. There we go. And then what I like to do is just a few little bits of soft butter throughout so it kind of melts into that cheese, gives you that nice little flavor. You don't need much. It's like a teaspoon of soft butter throughout so it kind of melts into that cheese, gives you that nice little flavor. You don't need much. It's like a teaspoon of butter, but it just gives you something a little extra on the top. And then one more shake of garlic salt. And that one will be ready to go in. Let's get our mushrooms tossed up here. Okay, nice and crispy. That is what I want. And again, I feel like you got to cook up your side, your stuff that goes on your pizza, because it just tastes so much better. Just gives you an overall thing. So we have cooked up our onions, our sweet peppers, and our mushrooms. Put that right over here. And we're going to slide this out to the side. Just going to move him. See if we can do a little gymnastics here, because our pepperoni one will go on or come off in a second. But I want to build our next one while we're waiting. Because I will say the cheese bread cooks faster. When you put the tomato sauce on, it acts kind of like an insulator. So those take a little bit longer. We're going to get our parchment paper. We'll do our little stretch. And if you were like the true, you'd be like doing it. I will say the hybrid ones don't work out, but when I make my true sourdough one, you don't even need to use a roller. It stretches so nicely on its own. You can literally do the little flip with it. But I find when you use the yeast, it needs a little help with the roller. There we go. And also another way is I like using the parchment paper on this because it tells me exactly how big I can make my pizza. Before I started doing the parchment paper on it, it was a crazy process, but half the time I'd make my pizza too big, so then I would fold it and have to make a calzone, which then didn't cook as well. So this kind of helps keep it the same.
Those calzones are good.
I know, the calzones are delicious. I make them in my parents' pizza oven all the time. And they're just delicious. Even though it's really just like a pizza folded in half, they are so good. Okay, we've got it. We're going to do our marinara sauce. Again, you don't want to go crazy on it. And to me, good old marinara, you can buy the pizza sauce, but just marinara spaghetti things, you don't have to get anything fancy. It works great. Pizza sauce, I think, is a little bit thicker and has a slightly, spicier flavor to it. There we go. I think this is just about done. So once we have this topped off, we can switch it over. We're going to do our toppings, and I'm going to do 2 layers of toppings because, again, I love a nice loaded veggie pizza. So we've got our onions. We're going to save some for the top. Our peppers. And again, I'm using, if you're going to use peppers, use like the red, the yellows, or the oranges. They taste much better than green peppers. I find green peppers are more bitter and they just don't taste as good, which is probably why they're the cheaper of the peppers versus, orange, yellow, and red. They always cost a lot more at the grocery store, but they do taste better. So we've got our layer there. Before we do our cheese, let's slide off our pepperoni. I'm going to move this guy. We have here, beautiful. And then the nice thing is you just grab this and boom. See how easy it is? And then I just take it off. Perfect. And then what I do with my pizza stone is I always let it heat up just a little bit before I put the next one on. That way you get that nice crisp undercut, the crust. Okay, where did I put my cheese? Do our layer of cheese here. And then you could, I always use mozzarella. You could use the Italian cheeses. Sometimes I do throw Parmesan on it as well. But when I'm doing like my barbecue chicken pizza, I don't use mozzarella on that one. I use like a Kobe Jack on it. And it's different. So when I make that, when I caramelize up onions, I cook up little like chicken breasts. Then I do barbecue sauce as the sauce. You put that on the chicken and the caramelized onions on, and then you put the Kobe Jack or the Monterey cheese on, and it's delicious. But no, I'm the only one who really likes that one. So we've got our cheese. Give it a little bit more. I don't want any bald patches on my pizza.
You have a question? Do you dunk your pizza in anything like ranch dressing?
So we'll dunk it in marinara sauce. So my kids love to dunk it in that. I have never tried the ranch, but I am a lover of ranch. People say I may love ranch too much. So I think it'd probably be pretty delicious. I've just never tried it. I do like to sometimes make my own garlic butter sauce to dip it in. You know how Papa John's gets that like nice garlic butter sauce that you can dip your crust in. I do make that sometimes, and that's really simple. You just melt some butter up and some garlic salt. And sometimes I make my my beer wheat crust, and I'll dip that in honey. So I went to college. Well, I'm originally from Ames, Iowa, and I went to college there. And they have a great pizza place there called Great Plains Pizza. And they're known for their beer wheat pizza crust. It's delicious. I love it. And sometimes I'll recreate that. So we're getting our veggie pizza on there. Yum, yum, yum. Oh, I completely forgot about my cheese bread. That will go on there next. Okay, now we're going to make our dessert pizzas.
Yeah.
For
Question: is the crust crispy?
Yes, it will be nice and crispy. So the crust, the question was, is the crust crispy? Yes, it is nice and crispy because the pizza oven heats it at 500 degrees, and it allows it to cook up like fast and hot. And then I always make sure to heat the stone between the pizzas. But it does, it gives you, it's not like a thin crust where it's like super crispy, but it's not soggy. It's got a good chewy crunch to it. And I think the sourdough also lends itself to giving you a nice crunchier crust than, say, like a traditional yeast crust. Okay, we're going to cut 2 more circles out for our 2 dessert ones. So we'll do our triangle. And then we'll do that. And I find you could probably find those like 8-inch rounds, like cake parchment papers. But this is easy because most people have parchment paper on hand. And again, you don't have to be perfect with it. But just 2 good circles. And it just makes it so much easier, that transfer process. Okay. So we're going to get our dessert one. Nice little stretch it out. Where did my roller go? There it is, just in front of me. It blended right in front of me. You always sit there and you're like, be asking, like, where is this? Where is it? I know it's right there. It's like when you're wrapping presents at Christmas time and you lose the scissors and then you lose the tape and then you lose your pen. It's always like, I know it was just here, and you end up searching for everything, and then you finally find it like 5 minutes later. So we're going to roll this out. And I'm going to give it a nice lip. Okay. Squish, squish, squishy, squishy. And you want to make sure you have your little crust. That's it, especially for the dessert ones, because that's going to help. We're going to be using butter on this, just like with the, our cheese bread. But we're going to put some cinnamon sugar on it. So get that right here. So I've got my room temperature butter. You don't need to melt it. You just want to use room temperature. And then we're going to spread it about, I want to say, a teaspoon or so. It spreads fairly nicely on here. There we go. And then I have my cinnamon and sugar. So we always eat a lot of cinnamon sugar toast here. So this is just good old cinnamon and sugar mixed up together. And you're going to sprinkle it over your pizza crust. Good, nice layer. That will be the base. And then when we're gonna make a little glaze that will drizzle over it after it's baked up. Let's check on our pizza here, see how it is cooking. It's getting there, nice and neat. Let's see. Okay, now let's get our next one out. This is gonna be my Nutella pizza. And you actually, with this one, you bake it up with just a little bit of butter on the crust. Then when it comes out of the oven nice and hot, you spread the Nutella on it. I made the mistake because I had it at a restaurant once. And so I was like, oh, I can make this at home. And I thought they put the Nutella on first and then they baked it up in their thing. No, Nutella does not bake up well at all. It goes crunchy and dry. So you bake up your pizza crust, then you slather it with Nutella. You sprinkle a little bit of brown or powdered sugar over it. And then we also have some mini M&ms to go on top. So it's like a true good old dessert pizza. So we're going to get this crust ready for that. And then we're going to make our glaze for the other dessert pizza. Got a little tickle in my throat. Okay. And then we're going to just spread it with a little bit of butter. Not much, but that's just going to help give it a nice kind of golden crust. Okay. Let's see if this guy is ready to come out. Just about. We're getting there. Just waiting for a little bit more of a thing. Got it nice and high. Okay, let's get our glaze ready. I got my powdered sugar there, my bowl, and we need a little bit of cream for it. Okay, so we're just doing a very simple glaze, and this is what we're going to dress over our dessert, our cinnamon sugar one. And sometimes I make a streusel topping for it. But my son, he was like, no streusel today. And I was like, okay, we can live with that. So powdered sugar. You don't need a whole lot because you're not making dressing a huge amount. So just about a half a cup of powdered sugar. And then we're going to add about a half a teaspoon of vanilla. And we're going to start with a little bit of cream. And then we're going to mix it until we have kind of the consistency of Elmer's glue. And then when the dessert pizza comes out, we'll be able to dress it with that. I know. I don't know what else to consider because it just looks like Elmer's glue. I don't know what else would be a good comparison to it. Everybody went to school. Everybody used Elmer's glue at one point. Hopefully they didn't eat it. Okay, so you kind of like that's nice thick drizzle. So it has a good kind of a thicker viscosity. So you don't want it super runny, but like a slow, I don't know how else to describe it. If you guys have any other way to describe it that isn't Elmer's glue, I think that's a pretty good thing. But here is perfect what we want because that nice little drizzle, because you want to be able to drizzle it over it. Okay, we're going to maneuver. We're going to move our pepperoni pizza over. We're going to do the side shuffle. There we go. Got that nice bubble on it that we want. Or slide it over here. We're going to pull out, this is again our veggie lovers pizza. Delicious. And then we're going to put in our cheesy bread. And And this is where we put the garlic, salt, butter, mozzarella, and a little bit of, let me get this pepper off. It will burn. There we go. Let's put our lid on for our thing. Got that. We've got our made. Now, let's see. Our sourdough bread is coming out, so we can get our fruit prepped up while we're here. Let me grab it. I said we would do, so we chopped up earlier today. We chopped up our pineapple and our honeydew melon, and now I have 2 mangoes to cut up. I was supposed to cut them up 2 days ago. I popped them in my fridge, so I'm hoping they're still good. They were on sale, so you want to win off it. But my son loves mangoes, and so we're going to have those. Let me get this out of the way. I'm going to flip my cutting board over since I don't want any onion flavor on our mangoes. Heaven forbid.
More so we don't want mango on the
Where the pizzas are all done. I'm going to give my knife a little clean here. I want my kids and my husband never let me forget the pineapple I cut up, and I guess I did not thoroughly clean my knife or my cutting board, and our pineapple had an onion flavor to it.
What temperature are the pizzas cooked at?
So it says it's on high setting here, which is about 500 degrees. So the pizza oven is cooking on about 500 degrees. So we're going to cut through. Growing up, I have 7 older brothers, and they used to always tell me that the skins of mangoes were poisonous. And if I ate them, I was going to get this rash and die. Well, I have finally come to know the truth that the skins of mangoes aren't going to kill me. But for the longest time, I thought mangoes were poisonous, like their skins, and I could never understand why people would eat them. And then I realized it was just my siblings being mean to me. And it's funny how things like that stick with you. So it looks like they turned out pretty good. I will say mangoes are one of those fruits that are just a pain to cut because you just have to get the big pit out. But we've got it here. And then let me get a little bowl to put them in. I'll say Torrin will be very excited. He loves mangoes, but they're such a pain that I rarely get them. So we're going to just see if we can pull that skin off. We're going to slide our knife right underneath it so we get a nice little mango chunk. There we go. Sometimes in the summer, when you can get mangoes really cheap, I make this delicious mango ice cream, and it is so good that it's just simply like you puree your mangoes up, then you add a little bit of sugar and cream, and you churn it together, and it is like the creamiest, delicious ice cream ever. But this mango, it looks like it's pretty good. So many times when you buy like the pre-cut mangoes at the store, they're really, they're not ripe. They're really hard. And so that's why I'm like, I always have to buy them myself, because it's cheaper to cut your own mangoes up. But they're always like rock hard when you buy them from the store. Okay. We got our first batch down. We're going to just slide under our knife here. And that's why if you do it on there and you just kind of push firmly against it, you can really get up and get as much of that fruit off of your mango skin. And it's kind of like the best way to cut it. I know they have like this little weird mango, like it's like an apple core that peels it, but it's so hard to know exactly how the pit is oriented in your mango that I find this is the best way to do it. Okay, let me get this swiped through, but our sourdough is beeping at us. So we're going to go and head over there and grab that out. Let me clear this so we don't melt anything. Now these are going to be very, very hot. Okay. Get our oven mitts on. Beautiful. You can see the nice pop of the crust. So here is our traditional loaf. I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to set it right here on my cutting board. And this one, you can smell the lemon in it. So we use the zest of a whole lemon in here. And that fragrant smell is like, as soon as I opened up the oven, it was like wafted in my face. Okay. Let's see. We're going to slide these out. As soon as I get done baking them, I take them out of my Dutch oven because I want to prevent them from cooking on the bottom anymore. So that is our traditional, or not our traditional, our cranberry cherry lemon loaf. Oh, this one you're going to fight me, aren't you? And this is our beautiful traditional loaf. So we made this one with dried cranberries, dried cherries, and the zest of one lemon. And we folded that inclusion into our sourdough loaf. And then again, this is our favorite, our beautiful traditional loaf. Look at our beautiful peak on our mountain there. That's from the expansion core. This is going to be gorgeous. Let me slide this over here. And I think our cheesy bread will be ready to come out. But again, you always want to take them off out of your Dutch ovens because those little suckers stay hot forever. Okay. Oh, gorgeous. Look at our cheese bread. I told you it cooks up really fast. Get this right over here. I'm going to put that on. So we've got our cheese bread. I'm going to put our regular one in for our Nutella pizza. And then we will have things. But look at this gorgeous. This is our garlicky cheese bread with mozzarella and garlic salt and butter. This is our veggie pizza. It's delicious. We're getting there. We've got a whole little collection for everyone. Okay, let's finish up cutting up our mango. As that cooks, and then we'll be ready to dress up our Nutella pizza and our things. So we've got one mango done. You know, it's funny, growing up, my mom would always cut it up and she would suck on the mango pit because it has like all the good stuff in it. Okay, we're going to slice this then again. What I like to do, you kind of just slice it. You got to follow along. You know, there's a nice big pit in the middle. So there's really no uniform way to slice it as much as possible. You just kind of work along the edge of that.
You have a question? How do you manage to multitask cooking so many different things at once?
Practice. But if you try to ask me to count while I'm cooking, apparently I can't do that. You know what? It takes time. You know, in the beginning, until you're really comfortable with things and you understand like how they're cooked, everything goes a lot slower. But it doesn't mean you're bad at cooking. It just means, you know, they always say like practice makes perfect. Nobody's perfect the first time they ride a bike. They think about a million different things, going things. Same thing with driving a car. And then it becomes second nature.
Lane learned to ride her bike first time.
Okay, well, he is using the example of our daughter who was very athletically gifted. And as soon as we put her on a bicycle without training wheels, she just rode it right out. No problem. Same with things. She tried on roller skates and could just roller skate. She was running at 10 months, climbed our pear tree in the backyard at our old house at it was like 2.5, and she was like at the top of our pear tree. And I'm like, how did you get up there? But not everybody is like her. But I will say, you know, you might stink. You feel like you suck at things in the beginning, but you get better with time. I will tell you, I wasn't always a perfect cook. I have plenty of battle wounds. I have gotten stitches twice from cooking. And I've burned myself plenty of times. So I said it's a learning journey, but you get better with time. You learn tips and tricks, and you learn to put meals together, and you cook things in the dead spaces of it. So it may look like I'm doing so many different things, but I have it timed because I know how long each thing cooks and when I'm going to have dead space. And that's how it makes it, that can all come together, but it's the pre-thought to it. Now, get me at a holiday when I'm trying to cook, the Swedish smorgasbord, which is like 20 courses. That's like chaos. Okay, we've got that down. Let's check on this, see how it's cooking up. Very nice. We're getting there. That's going to be for our Nutella dessert bread. Okay, slide this out and give this mango bit. There we go. And I will say, that's the one thing is a mango, I don't cut them up very often because they take a lot of work. A lot of times I'll just give them in strips, and then my son, he literally like puts them in like this, and he like pulls the flesh off because it is hard work. Okay, so we've got our mango cut up so my kids will have a delicious fruity things. Okay, my hands a quick wash. We're going to get our pizza out for our Nutella one. So I'm going to grab another cutting board because apparently I like to collect cutting boards. So this guy should be done. You can see he's got a nice little brown things, but he's got a nice little crunch on him. Let's see if I can show you guys the bottom. But it's like a nice little, it's hard to top, but he'll be cooked through nice and beautiful. And you want us to take him out right now because we're going to put our last one on, but we're going to dress this guy up. So let's see, where is our last bit for this? So this is my one of my kids' favorite ones. So this is a good old Nutella pizza. So we're going to take our Nutella here, and you got to do it while it's still hot, because the heat of it is going to cause our Nutella to drizzle over. So we've got a nice big glob of Nutella. There we go. And we're going to spread it all the way over, almost as if it looks like you're putting frosting on a cake. And we're running low. When my mom was in Germany over the Christmas time, visiting her sisters and her mom, she brought me back like a kilo jar of Nutella. And there's just something about Nutella from Europe just tastes a little bit better. I don't know if it's because it's in the jar or whatnot, because I compared the ingredients and they said they were the same. But even my kids, we did a blind taste test and they said that it tasted better. Okay, so we got our Nutella on. And then we're going to sprinkle a little bit of powdered sugar over. You don't want to go crazy. There we go. So, and then we're going to top it off with a little bit of mini M&ms for a nice, delicious dessert. So you don't need much, but just enough. And the kids just absolutely love it. Okay. Let's check on our last one. Oh, perfect. We've got a nice bubbling on it. So let's slide this over. We're going to dress that up, and then we can cut up our pizzas. And let me see. We'll have to move. We're going to do a little. We got our cheese ones. Slide them over. There we go. Got our dessert one on. Okay. Let me turn off our pizza oven here. Look at that. Beautiful. You've got that cinnamon sugar bubbling up. It's nice and hot. Very hot. Okay. So then what we're going to do is we always add a little bit more cinnamon sugar. And then we're going to drizzle it with our frosting that we made. And this is going to make a delicious, so we have 2 dessert pizzas. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Now we're going to add it over here, and I will go through again our delicious pizza dinner. So we have our cheese pizza on our sourdough discard crust. And then we made a veggie pizza using mushrooms, onions, and sweet peppers. We have our lovely pepperoni pizza. Then we have a delicious garlic cheese bread, our cinnamon sugar with some a vanilla glaze, and then our Nutella pizza with M&ms. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to show you what we're cooking for our family and things. Again, all of our videos will upload to the link on our page, so you can always rewatch them if you want to. Again, thanks again for joining us here.